Anyway, there are other things that I want to bring up, not obviously to this scale. The following is just a couple of questions that I have before we get into the actual legality of the entire shitfest that's going on. So, Project Melody has a couple of interesting clips that I would like to talk about and kind of ask you a couple of questions. I'm just curious, a few things that I am curious about.
Originally, when we started VSJ, before we even went with the name, the concept...
When we started VShojo, before we came up with the name...
kind of was thinking a talent agency, but for more people like me. Because we're like, clearly lewd tubing will eventually happen. We didn't have a word for it because it wasn't a thing. And yeah, exactly, that would be really neat, is a lewd tubing group. And I'm sure it will eventually happen. But, oh damn, that would be a cool avenue. Yes, but very quickly we realized, like, I mean, that kind of, like, isolates us, and there's a lot of cool people out there, just, like people hidden amongst it because there wasn't that many English-speaking ones. It was almost entirely Japan-based. And so, lewd tubing was more obscure. It was a neater concept to build something that's more general and could be on Twitch.
Yeah, so this is over a year ago, and being on Twitch was always one of the major goals, it seems. It seems like one of the major goals for VShojo is being on Twitch. Coincidentally, the Gunrun, the CEO of VShojo, worked at Twitch from 2011 to 2018. Probably a complete coincidence that being on Twitch was one of the major things. Now, this is a clip from over a year ago. This is a video from exactly a year ago. Exactly 1 year ago today. All right?
Since you're one of the people who sort of founded VShojo, right?
I was the founder.
All right.
You literally were, right? They say that you have a leadership role. How do you feel about that?
Maybe for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I personally want to know more of the insight on who actually had controlling roles in regards to VShojo. I am curious, and as I've mentioned, I have a lot of information in the pocket, all right? A lot of information that I will not willing to release unless, of course, no one releases anything and no one actually talks about certain things. I would like to understand who is involved in these gigantic scams, personally. I'm not saying that Melody's involved. My guess is she didn't know anything about it. She probably, in my opinion, she probably had nothing to do with the financial scams. I'm just curious how much actual insight or input or perhaps knowledge actually is had by different members that are founders, that are potentially owners, that are potentially in relationships with the COO of VShojo. I would like to know a lot more about certain things like this. I do want that. Now, again, I don't release private information unless I have to, so I am actually not going to do any of that. But I do want to ask some questions, maybe prod people into certain directions to maybe release certain things I would like to know about. Yes, Project Melody was the last person to leave VShojo. That is correct, Chad. And I personally want to know answers to certain things without releasing too many things, but if I have to, I will. Now,